balance way better than I can. So, Cheryl, how are you today?
Hey, Leah. First off, I just gotta say thank you so much for inviting me to join this. I know you're on the East Coast, so I think it's in the morning where you are. It's 9 p.m. out here in Japan where I am, but I'm so glad you're able to bring everyone together because this is such an important topic.
Of course. And we were just talking about my post on Instagram. Well, my story I just posted this morning because I stayed up a little extra late last night and then knew I had to get up for this because of the time difference. And I haven't had my coffee yet this morning, so I'm a little bit exhausted and I keep yawning. And every time I go on live, I yawn. That's just part of my thing, no matter if I've had coffee or not. So I'm just like, I haven't had coffee yet, so I'm probably going to yawn a lot today. And it's just how it is. But we were talking about how I was talking about how it's important to really set boundaries in your life so that you can have that work life balance. So
Mhm.
before we get into that topic, I would love for you to introduce yourself so everyone knows who you are, what you do, and obviously you already told us where you're located, but if you want to give us some background.
Yeah, absolutely. So my name is Cheryl Bear. I've got my little snowball mic with me, so you guys just have better audio quality. But I'm the host of the Good Morning Mimosas podcast. Additionally, I also work full time as the center manager for a nonprofit called the USO. I run the second highest ops tempo center in the Indo Pacific out here. So I was really flattered and excited when, Leah asked like, "Hey, would you be interested in this topic?" Because this is something that historically throughout, my life and, my husband and I, we've been together 12 years. We've moved 7 times in the last 8 years. He's in the military. And I've had to find a new job, a new life, a new page every turn. So, really finding the work life balance has been so critical, not just for us and our lifestyle, but just in your overall happiness and fulfillment. So when you asked, "Hey, would you be interested in this?" I was like, "Absolutely." So I'm really excited to be here and to talk with all of you because this is so important and it's something that I think everyone is really starting to talk about, but it's one thing to talk about it and it's another thing to actually walk the walk and live it out, which is so much harder. So I'm looking forward to diving into that. And like I mentioned before, I'm currently in Okinawa, Japan. We moved here in January this past year. So for everyone here from Japan side, Kanbama, and for everyone else on the East Coast and in America, good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Well, I wanted to really dive into boundaries, and because work life balance is about boundaries. So, a lot of people know about me that I work part time jobs and I'm constantly doing a million and one things and beyond my business. So, they always ask me, how do you keep boundaries? And I'm very, very honest about it. And I'm not good with boundaries, but I've been working on it. And I think when people think of boundaries, they're like, oh, what does that even mean? Why do you have to set
Mhm.
boundaries? And for me, a simple boundary is like, instead of working until 9, 10 o'clock at night and responding to messages, like those messages on Facebook or messages through email are not that important that they can wait till the next day. That's a big boundary for me because I could be
Mhm.
up until midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning responding to messages and they just keep coming in. So when we talk about work life balance, obviously your situation is very different, but a lot of people go through the same thing with you. Like it can be as simple as a move within the same
Mhm.
town that can really throw people off because you have to have a new routine, a new commute. If you have kids, they have to adjust to the new location. So, what are some things that people can do to set boundaries, or how do you set boundaries?
So that's a great point. So first off, like anything else, it's being aware of what it means to set boundaries. And when it comes to work life balance, to me, I view it in two separate components. So the first component is the emotional component, right? And it is the emotions you feel when you're doing something, when you're not doing something. On the podcast, we've had some episodes and we call it shilt, like shame and guilt that may creep in when you're doing something, but you kind of feel like, oh, but maybe I should be doing this instead. And a lot of people kind of have these conflicting emotions. So there's an emotional component, and then there's what I like to call the tactical component, which is more living it out in action, right? So actually committing to whatever it is you find important. And the way that I have found, and things have kind of picked up a lot for me, it's also different. This is the first time for me, I'm living on the other side of the world. Literally, I'm 13 hours ahead of my entire family. So, um, the way we communicate is different. Our timing is different. The way we do everything is just a little bit different. Um, but it's important, and I think what's critical is taking the time to literally, and it sounds basic, but it really will be a game changer for you. Write out what is most important to you. It doesn't matter what it is. It could be a small thing for me. It has been, when I took my full-time job out here in Japan, it requires, on the base that I work on, there are service members, they don't get to leave the base. All they have is what's on there. And our center is one of the only places where they can go where rank doesn't exist. You're just there. We're there to take care of you, right? So one thing that is so important is that we are the Disneyland, right? For our service members. So, part of that is like literally being that source of positivity and that bright spark. But one thing I found out in delivering that, I could not consistently provide that if I was not getting myself at a good, balanced, positive place. So for me, that required I had to work out, right? So I've had a few knee surgeries. Some of your viewers may have had injuries or something like that. So for me, I was like, okay, something I can consistently do for myself, because if you don't show up for yourself first, you can't succeed at other things. And that's something that is hard because, my girlfriend and I, we were talking about this. I told her I was coming on and talking about balance. One of the hardest things that her and I were talking about as an adult, it's relearning what you've been taught. And we were taught, you be selfless, you do for others, before yourself. It was always this mentality, right? That so many of us have, right? Like if you are like, whoa, hold up, I need to take care of me first. You're like, she's selfish, she's self-centered, she's, like this, that, and the other. That's not true. And that's something that is so much easier said than done. And it's
Yep.
so much harder to lead and live out. So for me, I was like, me spending time to work out, and in my case, swim, and our gym at the base I work at is 5 to 7 a.m. Okay. For me to get that workout in, yes, it's for me, but ultimately, if I don't do this for myself, I can't show up for the people I need to show up for. So for me to get over that kind of mental hurdle of what I was kind of raised in, this like, hey, if you're selfish or you're doing something for yourself, it's almost a negative, which it's not. Okay, for the record,
Yep.
it's not. If it's something that is good for you, it needs to be a top priority, first and foremost, period. The end. For me, I always have to have those self talks, right? And I have to sit there and say, like, okay, this is for me, but if I don't do this for me, I need to do this for me, but really it's for them. And that's how I'm able to like get up at 5 a.m., drive the 30 minutes to the base, get my swim in, and then get myself together and go to work. Um, but it takes an effort, right? So, how do we break it down and how do we get to that place? Again, it goes to that list. It's kind of like if you were, and I know I've talked about this before, and people are like, oh, Jesus, I feel so seen. But it's true. Like if you look at your bank account, right, and you look at all of the money you spent last month, it will show you what you care about because it's where you're putting your money.
Mhm.
It's the same thing when it comes to time. Time is the only finite resource we have. So if you look, and it's a thing called time blocking, I'm really big on it, which I highly recommend for all of you. And I'll break that down in a second. How are you choosing to spend your finite resource? And which is time, right? How are you choosing to allocate time? That's your most expensive currency. It's what can fuel you or exhaust you, right? How you use your time. Write down the list of things that are important to you. And if you're looking at it and you aren't spending an hour a day on your mental health, you aren't spending an hour a day on your physical well being, but you're supposed to show up for 8 hours for like a traditional job or something else, there's a huge imbalance there, right? Are you having your quality time with your family? Do you have time set aside to socialize, to check in with friends or people that like really help fulfill you? That is important. So when you are thinking about this and you're like, okay, that's great, Cheryl, but like, how do we start?
Yep.
How do you make this happen? Get a blank sheet of paper and write down if you could fill a day with everything that's important to you. What is it? Write it all down. Doesn't matter what it is. It could be big, it could be small. It could be, and when I moved out here, it was having a cup of coffee in peace, alone, without anyone bothering me, whatever it is. Write down what is a priority to you and then shape your schedule around that. Because if you take your priorities and you plan your life around it, then the things that you have to do will be better. You will be more successful at your job. You'll be more successful if you're a stay-at-home mom, which I've got to say I have a dog and a cat, and I'm sorry if you hear the noise. Sorry. Sound of freedom. We've got, we've got some jets going on. But like I have a dog and a cat. I do not have, human children. And let me tell you, there is nothing I think is more badass or inspiring than moms. Like, talk about a selfless lifestyle. It's incredible. And do not for a second sell yourself short. If you are sitting here and you're like, hey, I'm in charge of literally growing and molding little ones' lives into being productive citizens, your job is harder than countless of the other jobs that I've had that have like titles that are impressive. Like, right? Like, let's get with the times. But to do that successfully, you have to show up for yourself. And the only way you can do that is, again, start with that list. Write down what is important to you. Now, here's the thing, you're going to write out all the things that are important to you. And then you're going to look and you're going to be like, I only have 24 hours in a day. How the hell do I make this happen? Right? I mean, you're sitting there and you're like, okay, it'd be nice to like meditate, right? And have a gratitude journal and do all of these things. But like, I need sleep too, right? So here's how it works: time blocking. So you need to map out. And again, you're going to think like, oh, do it once, try it for 3 weeks. I promise it will make a huge difference. It certainly did for me. You write out your priorities and then you allocate how much time each one takes. So for me to swim, right? For me to get there, swim, shower, it's an hour. Okay, so for me to do that, how much time frame? And then I literally map out 24 hours in a day and I block off time, right? I have ideal, like, if I could get the dream sleep, I'm not a good sleeper. My husband jokes with me all the time. He's like, you suck at sleeping. I do. Like, right? I'm like, I gotta take melatonin or Unisom or something to like help me get there because I go to bed and the list just starts happening, right? But I always write down what's my dream sleep schedule, right? And then what can I do to improve and get to that point? And then I backfill, right? You have to start with necessities first, right? If you have to work a set 9 to 5, put the 9 to 5 in,
Mhm.
then put sleeping, then put eating. Then look at your list of what's important to you, whether that's working out, calling family back home, Maybe it is having that cup of coffee by yourself and then find that bit of time and put it in there. What has helped me go from, again, the component of like, oh, hopes and dreams, this would be nice, to living it out. I put timers in my cell phone. So my alarm's going off, and I am literally like, mm, literally have an alarm in my face. You need to have a cup of coffee. It sounds ridiculous, but when I saw that, I'm like, okay, you know what? And I set my phone to the side till the next alarm goes off, which is whatever I need to turn to next. And I just started slowly conditioning myself to like, I just need to sit here and think about everything or nothing. But what's most important is enjoying this cup of coffee. And the second I took the time to write down what was most important, right? That's step number one. Step number two, time blocking it and actually writing out, okay, how could I make this a reality? Do I need to wake up earlier? Do I need to go to bed earlier? Do I need to stop watching TV so long? When I come home, instead of like coming home, throwing my stuff down, making dinner or, sitting on the couch for a few minutes, do I need to change up my routines, right? Once I started putting the timers in my cell phone and time blocking myself in, then I could actually start living it out. And here's where, you know, when I say the tactical living out is having those alarm clocks, right? Here's where it gets hard, the emotional component. So you have these timers, right? You're like, it's my designated time to have a cup of coffee. But next thing you know, you get a call from someone you like, you get a message and you get a notification on social media, right? You get an email pop up, and then all of a sudden your attention is taken. Or if you try to ignore it, you have what we call on our podcast, we call it shilt, shame and guilt, right? And you're like, oh man, here I am sitting here having this cup of coffee when I could be doing this, I could be doing that, whatever those things are. And that emotional side of you, it starts eating up. And then the quality time you may have blocked out for yourself turns into just stress, which is the exact opposite of what it's meant for, right? Um, and there's one thing that I have learned through my full-time job. You know, um, there's a lot of times when I'm busy, I'm doing reports, right? I'm working on an Excel spreadsheet. I've got the two monitors and the laptop going on at the same time, right? Like, big business person, right? Whatever. A volunteer will come in who's having a hard day and they just want to sit down and talk about nothing. And when I say nothing, it is something trivial. It doesn't really, it's not substantial, it's not earth shattering. But let me tell you something. I have made it a point anytime someone comes in my office, whatever I'm doing, it goes to the side. If it's a meeting, I close my door, right? And I have a like friendly sign like, hey, I'm Cheryl Bear. Don't mean to be a bear, but like drop me a note if you need to talk to me, right? Because I wanted them to know, like, hey, I appreciate your coming to my door. I just can't give you the attention you deserve right now. And that's a boundary in and of itself, right? You're
Yeah.
acknowledging someone, you're saying, hey, thank you for coming to me. And I will get to you, but like, I just can't right now. Anytime I can, my door's open. If a volunteer or a service member or anyone rolls in my office, whatever I'm working on, no matter how important to my boss, the big wigs it may be, it gets put to the side because that moment to sit and talk to them about nothing, in reality, it's everything for them. It's it's that spark. You never know what small trivial conversation you will have that will be the game changer for someone else. But you won't even recognize that you're in that situation if you're so busy, laser focused, like go, 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 get it done, get it done, get it done. And you're like focus on the next thing. Um, so really having that balance helps you be aware this is one of those times. Because I'll tell you what, there has been a couple times where I've been an hour late for a report, 2 hours late, and I told my boss, I'm like, hey, look, I had a service member who just came out of the field that needed to talk to me. So I'm sorry I was late for your report. I will try to be more diligent and get it done earlier in the future. but I was where I needed to be. And you know what they said? Thanks for being you. Which, like, first off, kudos to like right my supervisors
Right.
for having the right priorities. But some of you may be sitting there and you're like, "Ugh, that's nice, but like what our mission statement is and what our business is actually living out is two separate things." That is a good indicator because if your values line up with your mission statement, but your chain of command or your supervisors don't fall in line with it, that may be a good time to like look at your priorities. Is this truly a priority for you, or do you need to shop somewhere else? Because it all does affect. And the work life balance can really become imbalanced when your work is not fulfilling you in the way that it should, or it is not satisfying like a desire you have in life, right? Whatever impact it is that you're hoping to make. Um so that's also a sign that like, hey, I need to take a step back and kind of look at the bigger picture. Um so just a quick recap on a few things I said, and then I'll get to kind of the biggest point, which to date, I will say 11 the past 11 years as a working professional, I have been chasing this like I want to grow bigger, faster, stronger. I want to go up the ladder. I want to be this person in power. Like I always want to have a job no matter where we get stationed, like all of this. Right. And it was a personal point of pride for me. And that has changed. Um, Part of it is I'm older. Part of it is also like my personal beliefs and values have changed, right? Um, Also it is I've been pushed to the point where I didn't have work-life balance. It was all work. 24/7 work. I mean, working 3 100-hour weeks in a row and then having to pull off 8 events the next week and then still being asked to do more, right? When you get pushed to that point, you're like, I don't care what I'm getting paid, it's not enough, right? In your family, there's subtle ways that like you can't quite quantify, you can't quite see it, but it is affecting you. If you are feeling that way, take that step back because life is the big picture. Work is a portion of it, and work should help you be a vehicle to live the lifestyle you want. It shouldn't be the end all be all in the full picture. That's why it's called work life balance. Um, so okay, recap real quick. So you're writing down what's important to you. Then you're looking at what's most important, what's critical, and you're time blocking it. Then when you time block it, you're living it out, right? The timer goes off, you need that cup of coffee, you're setting everything else aside and you are just savoring that cup of coffee because you planned it out. Here's the hardest part. So you got to do it, right? You have to have no regrets about it. Be unapologetically committed to what is best for you. And again, you're like, "Oh, must be nice, Cheryl, like easier said than done." And I know I'm sitting here, right? I'm in my 30s. So, like, you're closer to 50 than you are from the start. Like, maybe when I get to that point, right? All of those conversations are happening, right? And you're like, oh, well, here's the deal. You're always trying to prove yourself, right? And you're trying to prove your worth, your value, why you should get a raise over someone else, why you deserve this, this new position, why you're applying for this job, right? And you're constantly trying to prove yourself. Which I'm not saying like just drop your pack, give up on the job, but at what cost? At what cost are you pursuing those things, right? Because if you are losing your life balance, which is 50% of this, right? If you're losing like your relationships, your friendships, sorry, I have another fighter jet going over. Sorry if it's noisy. But if you're losing your relationships that matter, if you're losing your wit, your humor, your everything, because you're just used to being this strict, rigid business person, how much living are you able to do? And at what cost is it affecting you? So being unapologetic, what does that mean? You know that emotional component that I talked about?
Yes.
That is the hardest part, right? And here's the thing. I've gotten better because I worked for a very toxic work environment that affected me tremendously. And in hindsight, my biggest regret is I didn't quit and leave the job sooner. I didn't realize how much it impacted me, my husband, my family till 2 weeks after I left this job. I was walking around our neighborhood with a cup of coffee and my dog, and my husband drove by and he was like, I don't think I've seen you smile like this in years. Which is like, talk about a double-edged sword. You're like,
Yeah.
double-edged sword. You're like, oh my gosh. Because part of it's like, oh my gosh, I have such a cute smile, right? But the other side of you is like, oh my God, you haven't seen me smile like this in years. What have I been letting filter in to our space, to our life space, to our like what's really matters, what's important. And it was a huge eye opener for me. And ever since then, when I went for this last job and I met with my predecessor, and even my boss, like who's a phenomenal guy. He jokes that I like interrogated him when I met him, and he's like, "Oh yeah, like he told HR like, "Oh, I think, she I think I passed her interrogation and she might apply for the job." But here's the thing. When I went through, I was like, I'm not willing to work 100 hours a week. I will give you everything I have, but it's got to be within reason. I I'm proud of, our mission statement, our goals, where we're going. I'm 100% here for it, but not at the expense of all these other things. And it's one of those things that one, my boss understands from the get-go. And he respects when I'm saying like, nope, we're done, or I will not let my team do this, because I am a people manager. Like my team's not going to do this. Why? Because that's outside of their wheelhouse. They're going to have to work more hours. I'm not doing it. There's not an argument there where if you don't firmly have your boundaries in place, then they're flexible. Then other people get to determine them. If you haven't determined them yourself ahead of time. And that is so important because if you don't take the time to write down your priorities and then time block yourself, because here's the deal. If you have an appointment and you're like, hey, I've got an appointment at 5 o'clock, I have to leave work. It does not matter what that appointment is. It could be a doctor's appointment. It could be an appointment to get your hair done. It could be an appointment to see your kids play soccer, whatever. It could be your dog's vet appointment. It doesn't matter what it is. It matters to you and it matters for the life portion of the work-life balance. So it's non-negotiable. But if you don't stand up and believe in it, no one else will, which is why it's so important to, write it down and establish it and stand firm in it. So the first step is taking the time, deciding for yourself what it is, right? And then it is time blocking it and putting your thoughts and hopes and dreams into action, right? And then it's living it out, right? Doing it, listening to your timers, taking, hey, this is my workout time. All I'm going to do is work out. This is my time to check emails. I'm just going to check emails. Like I'm going to do with this workout, I'm just going to do this workout. And then once you do it and you pay attention to how it affects you. It will help things fall into order. It will give you the confidence to not only do it, but do it with no regrets, which is the biggest part. Um, so sorry, I know I went on a super long tangent there, Leah, but it's something I'm passionate about. It's something that I've had to grow and tweak and develop, and it's something that especially my teammates, the younger working professionals, especially females, there's commonalities. They're the first ones to apologize. Like, oh,
Mhm.
I'm so sorry. My car broke down. My husband and I are sharing cars. I'm like, why are you apologizing? Because, not to, you know, go off script here, but like a man would never apologize for that. Don't apologize for that. Or like, hey, you get recognized for something and they're like, "Oh my gosh, thank you so much." I'm like, "No, don't thank me. You did the work. You earned it." Like, if I didn't do this, then you should judge me accordingly because I'm a supervisor. That shouldn't be. And remember that so when you are a supervisor, you can be better. But like don't thank me for like recognizing when you put in the work. You put in the effort, you put in the energy, you set the boundaries, you did the work productivity, you crushed it. You know, don't thank someone for that because you earned it. It wasn't given. And this is something that I see all the time in the workplace, and it's something that has made the difference for my family. And has made, our lifestyle, especially, I can mention my husband's military. Even since we've lived in Japan, we moved here end of January. He's been here. We might be at 50-50, him being here versus gone, right? So time is a finite resource and it hits a little bit closer to home because he's not coming home at a set time.
Right.
But it's something that if you let it be okay, it will be okay. But if you set the tone and the standard, then people have to meet that tone and the standard. But if you aren't, advocating for yourself and you aren't protecting what's most important for you and your family, no one else is.
Right. And I think the most important part is literally, I've been talking about this on social media for a couple of days, is time versus money. And
Mhm.
you keep talking about that time is a finite resource, and it is. Like, people don't realize that you can always find ways to make more money, but you can't get that time back. And it's one of those things where I talk about, I don't have kids, but we're on the same page there. But like, my dog is like my child. Like, I treat her like as if I gave birth to her. So like every day I'm like, oh my God, you're now 4 years old. I can't believe like that 4 years have gone by so long. And my fiance thinks I'm crazy about that. But like, the thing is, like, she makes me happy. So like, when I come home from my part-time job, or we come home from a date night, it's like the first thing I want to see is her face and her happy to see us, because like, we're her whole life. Like, she waits, like her time is waiting for us to see us. And it's I love seeing that, because I feel it makes me feel happy because she loves us and wants to see us. But it's that accountability that you keep talking about, like self accountability. And this is where, like, having someone in your life that is going through the same thing really helps. And I talk all about community and tribes and making sure
Mhm.
that you have people in your corner that help support this. And if they're not in your corner and don't support this, it's really hard for you not to feel guilty. So like, for example, even just setting up a time to go out to dinner with some of your girlfriends, or setting up a time to go to dinner with your husband or your boyfriend or your significant other. It's a huge deal, because that's part of that time blocking, making sure you block that time that the only thing you're doing is spending time together. And I'm guilty of this, is like, even if we're just sitting on the couch watching TV, I'll scroll through my phone and I'm like, I need to stop doing that.
Yes. Oh
I'm
my gosh. We were talking about this the other day. Yeah. Hmm.
I'm not in the moment of spending time. And then
Hmm.
he'll scroll on his phone. I'm like, okay, if he's doing it, then it's fine for me to do it. But I spend all day with interacting with business people and on social media, on reading emails, that I need to mentally take a break, because then if I'm consuming and consuming and consuming, it's going to consume my life. So that's why when I said that I struggle with this time blocking, I do it. I do it for a really long time and then I stop, and then I do it for a really long time, and it's not consistent for me because my schedule is ever changing. But that's part of time blocking, that you spend that time to really plan out what you're doing, and then you can adjust things. Like, I don't think people realize that with time blocking, it's not like you have to do this. Like, if something comes up, you just have to see, is it a priority or is it not? And I was talking about an opportunity, my dog, I'm sorry. um
I
uh
love Hi, Pooch.
She takes naps while I do podcasting because otherwise she'd be crazy. But one of the things I talk about is there's opportunities that I have to be a guest speaker on a platform or meet with a potential client. But if it doesn't feel right to me, then it's not a priority. So I need to really pick and choose. And I think you did a really good job of explaining like your priorities come first, obviously sleeping and eating. And this is one of the main reasons why I quit teaching is because teaching puts all of your priorities in the back burner. So you actually you morph into this mother and having mother guilt. So like I could be spending 15 minutes eating my lunch, or I can be spending 15 minutes tutoring a child who really needs help. And it's forgetting about yourself. And as soon as I quit teaching and started thinking more about me, I didn't have as much burnout. I didn't have as much guilty feeling. And I still do that. I mean, now that I'm been full time for a full year, I kind of like, oh, I should really be working on that client's project right now. But I've learned new boundaries. So
Mhm.
when you have that freedom to work from home and be your own boss, you kind of don't have someone saying, or I think of it as your system of alarms. I think of school bells like telling me,
Mhm.
okay, now we're going to second period and then we're going to third period.
Mhm.
But like in my life, those bells, okay, I'm going to the next part to help me feel mentally better, physically better, or business better. So I put those in those components. And I literally have been talking about taking time off, and people don't realize that when you work for yourself, you don't have a lot of time off. You have to set that
Yeah.
boundary of taking time off. So I think it's really important time blocking. And whether you're a 9 to 5er or a business professional, you still need to do the same thing. You need to take time for yourself and do self care. And even if that is 15 minutes a day and something different, or like you said, exercise is really important to you. And
Mhm.
for me, like exercise has always been like a requirement. It's never, I don't feel good about going for exercise, but I know it's good for my body. So I have to find ways that I'm still being active, but wanting to do it. Like I used to go to the gym and I'm like, I hate this. Like this is
Yeah.
not fun to me. So it's not like I'm not going to keep doing it if it's not fun to me. So when you find something that's fun, helpful, and you want to do it, that really helps bring out that spark in yourself.
Well, and I think you bring a great point there, with my team at my full-time job, two of my staff members were literally told by medical professionals that they need to eat more. It's not like they have eating disorders. One is pregnant and, sometimes she has smell aversions to things. And then the other one is she has a lot of stress and anxiety. So she will like just start eating like water and coffee and just get sidetracked, right? And I'm known to spend a day just going from meeting to meeting to meeting, drinking coffee. So I'm like, okay, when I heard that both of them have like medical professional notes that like they need to eat, I was like, we need to find a way to fix this, right? So you have to find a way that also like time blocking can sound so serious and so rigid. We have an Outlook invite that goes off every day at 3 p.m. and it's called snack time. And it's literally like we check in, we see each other. I'm like, hey girl, when's the last time you ate a snack? You need some water? What do you need me to make? And they're like, I don't care what it is. I have made cheese and crackers little on a, paper plate. I'm like, "Hey, I brought in some bagels. Like, you want some cream cheese? Do you need me to place an order? Like, have you eaten, have you had water?" So out here in Okinawa, Japan, especially in the summer, it's humid
Mm-hmm.
and it is hot. It is very hot and humid, like super swampy part of maybe
Sticky,
Florida that's very dense in a swamp.
sticky, yeah.
This is like 10 times that. Like it is just cranked up to like 11 because we're in the middle of Pacific and we're just a little island. So it is like you walk out your front doors and your sunglasses or your glasses are just completely fogged instantly. That is the level of humidity we're at. Like in anyone who's maybe military affiliated, we're at like black flag by 8:05 a.m. Okay, it's hardcore out here. So knowing this, whenever we see each other, I'm like, "Hey girl, have you had some water? When's the last time you had water?" And now it's become like a thing, and it's a talking point, and yes, it's something serious, but we're addressing it in a way that it's not sharp and rigid. It's more fun. I'm like, "Hey girl, when's the last time you had some water?" And my team member Cynthia, she's always like, "Well, I had a soda like an hour ago." And I was like, "Yeah, what about water?" She's like, I do need to fill up my water bottle. It's like, okay, I'll fill that up for you, and having that person, you talked about having an accountability buddy and that checks and
Mhm.
balance. It doesn't have to be this big, ugly, rigid, hardcore
Right.
thing. Make it fun, make it, work for you. One of the things when I was very stressed out, I'm a big person, the Calm app. Again, the sleep stories really work for me. Highly recommend. But they do like meditations and things like that. And I am not good at meditating. I'm also not good at yoga, but I will try. Right. And it's something I know I'm not good at. So I want to be better at. Right. So I would do the daily meditation, which is like 10 minutes or less. Right. And it became a thing between me and my best friend. And I would sit there and I try to do it. And then I would share the quote of the day and I would just text it to her. And she would be like, "Oh my gosh, I love this." And because I'm in the future, like it is nighttime here when it's like just starting, I'll send it to her and she's like, "This is a great way to start my day." And then of course she's like, "How's Thursday looking like over there?" And I'm like, "Oh, today it's partially cloudy, sunny skies." But we make it a fun thing. And I think that's also something that's so important when you're doing this because again, time blocking, it's important. You need to do it, but that doesn't mean that it has to be this, cut and dry, serious thing. Like it can be a time block that's like text my bestie, you know, have like a happy hour, with a friend. My neighbor out here in Okie that just moved in, we do tequila Tuesdays and we make margaritas and I go to her place or she'll come to mine. It's time blocked in there, like in the evenings between 5 to 6, we're doing tequila Tuesdays. There is no amount of money that could combat that time block. Like there's nothing better. Yesterday we had our tequila Tuesday. We had a double rainbow happen in the backyard. Like just gorgeous. Like I never would have had that experience if I didn't stick to my guns, if I
Yep.
didn't prioritize it. And I was just like, you know what? It's just a margarita with a friend. Like it's not really that important. I have pictures on my phone that I will probably look back at for the rest of my life and be like, what the heck place did we live at in 2022 where we have blue skies over here, a double rainbow over here, and a thunderstorm happening over here,
Yep.
But we do. And it's because you make the effort and you time block what is important. And again, it doesn't like, yes, maybe you need to have your 9 to 5 job. Yes, maybe you need to have your sleeping, right? And you're eating your basic life functions, right? There's a few times in, my one team member, Jeff, he always laughs at me because I'm notorious. I'll be like back to back meetings and then I'll run out and I'll like go to do something. And I was like, what am I doing? And I'm like, I have to go bathroom. I haven't peed in like 45 minutes and that's what's on my list. But you just get so busy and so wrapped up.
Yep.
It's important to block that, time block those things that are important, basic life functions, but then also what you need for your soul, for your spirit, for your physical body, your mental well-being, all of that. And again, it doesn't have to be this big scary thing. And having accountability buddies like you were talking about, clutch. There's nothing better than like if you're not a gym person and you decide to try it out, but the gym people are always excited to see you and you walk in, you're like, oh, hey, you meet your friend in a Zumba class and like you aren't coordinated at all, but you showed up. So like you're winning, and you're just like, oh, hey, Sherry, hey, Grace, what's up? Sometimes that's everything. Again, that like it may seem like nothing, but it's really everything. You'll find so many more of those that just help make everything else run smoother when you're taking care of you.
And that's the best part. And I really, truly appreciate you coming on today. I know, especially with the time difference, it's always so hard. I know we've been working on that for weeks trying to find a good time for us to meet, but I truly appreciate you being on today. And so, for those of you that didn't remember, Cheryl talking about it, but she does do her own podcast. So it's Good Morning Mimosas. So you can type that into Google and it pops up, and you can listen to it probably on every platform. And we'll have that information in the show notes as well. So you can check out her podcast and read about her adventures about moving through the military. But again, I really appreciate you coming on today, Cheryl, and really talking to us, because this is a very important topic. And I hope that we can stay in touch, even with the time difference, so that we can work on these as well. And if people want to connect with you and if they send messages, I will make sure I send them your way as well.
Excellent. And Leah, thank you so much for having me on. Again, for everyone out there, we've been trying to connect and make this happen. And I just appreciate you because I know, again, maybe like out here in the future, 13 hours ahead, like the logistics aren't easy, but you made it happen. And I'm so excited for, getting to know you, doing this podcast, but then also like the future to come, and can't wait to see what the future lies ahead for both of us. And I'm excited to cheer you on and also be now one of your teammates. It's been absolutely wonderful, and thank you for having me on. I've truly enjoyed it.
Of course. Thank you.